Okay, welcome everyone. This is CharlieWolfGaming. I'm Charlie Wolf. I'm joined as always by the Picasso of the FGC himself, Mr. Blino himself. How are you doing, Blino?
Dude, I'm good. I'm excited to have this chat. I think it's been a long time coming.
It has been a long time coming, and I think what we've done is we've got two of the guys that need absolutely no introduction, Blino, whatsoever. We've got the latest recruit of AI gaming himself, Mr. I Heart to Mop, Z the janitor in the house. How's it going, Z?
I mean, that's what I do. It's my profession.
Absolutely. And we're going to hear more about your mopping expertise during the course of this podcast. And as well, guys, a guy who might need an introduction in terms of who you're seeing, but needs absolutely no introduction in terms of the gameplay we've seen recently. Mr. Runner-up himself of the Colosseum, CGL, none other than Bob Grant Hill, BGH, Bilal in the house. How are you doing, buddy?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks, Carlo. Hi, everyone. I'm so grateful to be here today. It's going to be an exciting stream.
We're excited to have you guys both. And I think, you know, we've been rocked as a community. I think rocked is the right word to use here, guys, by the recent news coming out that NRS is no longer going to support Mortal Kombat 11. And, you know, obviously there's a lot of mixed feelings going around. The news is still kind of hot off the press, so people are still kind of coming to terms with the fact that this is the final game that we play now. There's not going to be any changes, and we've got a couple of questions that we want to ask these guys, because I think during the lifespan of Mortal Kombat 11, when it comes to high-level play, Blino, you don't need to look much further than these two guys that we've got with us. Z the janitor, Bilal, and we're just going to hear a bit more than just their gameplay tonight. We've got a couple of questions lined up, but I think most importantly to the chat, the audience watching tonight, this is going to be an interactive podcast. So please, guys, if you have any questions for any one of these gentlemen here, myself, Blino, but I think more importantly, Z the janitor and Bilal, just add them in the chat. We'll keep an eye on the chat and we'll ask those questions that you pose in the chat to these gentlemen with us tonight. So I think without further ado, guys, before we even get into it, just how are you feeling about MK11, where it's at, the fact that it's no longer going to be changed? Just where do you guys find yourselves really? Having played the game for 2 years plus, knowing that this game that we're playing now is the final version, how does it make you guys feel at this point?
Okay, can I come in with the hot take first?
Absolutely, please do.
Well, I'm kind of disappointed because if you really look at the game, it's low-key unfinished, but it is what it is now. It's like now you've come to a point where you kind of just either accept what it is or just play something else, which is, it's disappointing because it had room to be better. So it's kind of just one of those things where like it was this close to being better, and then I don't know if they were just trying to be edgy or something and then just didn't listen to their player base in certain aspects at certain times, or also COVID, but it didn't actually, it had a lot of potential, and I feel like it's a bit of underachieved potential, if you will.
Yeah. I like how you say low key unfinished, because to my mind, it's super unfinished. it's you know, I think that there's a lot of that character roster is not complete as far as I'm concerned. But I'll let BGH go from here and then share my thoughts afterwards. I'd like to hear both of your takes.
Yeah, for me, it's sort of mixed feelings because I agree that it's unfinished, but also like fundamentally the mechanics, I don't know how much of it they could change without like completely making a whole new game. So like for me, like hearing that they're done with the game, like I'm disappointed that they didn't like fix a lot of issues that we all had, like mechanic changes, like how the breakaway works and everything. I'm disappointed about that, but I'm also happy that we're getting a brand new fresh game, and hopefully they learn from this game and are more like tame with the big changes, I'd say.
And let's be clear, guys. Like, I know everyone's like, oh, but like a longer game is better. They have the numbers. Like, let's not gas ourselves. As much as we, the players, want a more supported game, there's clearly a reason that they would do it. Like, listen, if it was more expensive to make a new game, they would go to Warner Brothers and they'll tell them, get out of here and keep churning out new DLC characters, make another Ninja. But they don't, because it makes so much more money to make a new game, fresh packaging, like similar mechanics, and then they just sell Mortal Kombat but with superheroes, and then they roll in money again. You know what I mean? Like, it makes so much more cash that way. And like, yeah, they could have done what Street Fighter have done, like with V-Shift. Like, honestly, if you play this game again, if there's guys in the chat who haven't played Street Fighter recently, just give it another try. It feels like such a different game. Yeah. Because they've had like 2 or even 3, I think, changes. Yeah, they're like 3 major, like huge, like meta mechanical changes to that game throughout its life. They added second V triggers, second V skills, this new mechanic V shift, and it like changed the game at every stage. New characters were strong, different things were adjusted. And that's just not how MK rolls. It's more profitable to do what they're doing now, so here we are.
Well, I mean, from my point of view, you guys obviously played the game at a much higher level than I'd say myself. So I think a lot of the things that you mentioned now that you would have liked to see, at least somebody at my level won't necessarily notice the intricacies of, you know, little changes in the game, like frame data and things like that. Yes, we pick it up over a period of time, but I think you're on a very good point there, Z. NRS has the numbers, and I mean, we're going to get into the mixed feelings about the non-communication and the promises, etc. But Injustice 1, Injustice 2, same game that is but polished and a couple of new characters. But I mean, I picked up Batman in Injustice 1, which I only started playing after I started playing Injustice 2. And weirdly, it was very much the same. So I think a lot of what NRS is doing is based on everything that they have been doing since they really started all the way back in 2011 with Mortal Kombat 9. So, you know...
And you know the one thing that I don't like... Okay, sorry, are you finished your point?
No, go for it, Z, please.
Like, the very strange thing that they do sometimes is this kind of careful what you wish for mentality, which I hate. So in MKX, we had crackhead offense. Let's call it what it is. That game was fun to make people, like, to mix people up with, but I'd rather eat toothpaste than block in that game. Okay, it was terrible to play defense in MKX. I played like Quan Chi, and like I was having the time of my life making people guess. Oh, 50-50, 50-50, haha, you guessed wrong. Eat a setup, same thing again, and it was fun. And then you're blocking, and then you're holding some tremor block string forever. If you've ever played Justin in MKX, you're just watching him play a single player game. To be fair, that's the case in most games, fighting games you play with Justin. But in MKX, it's just like ramped up to 100. So in the play testers, because there's a lot of top players who test these games early. Like if there's a game that's coming out, let's say next year, they're testing it right now. Like guys like, I don't know, King and like DJT and Sonic Fox in the international community, they're playing those games right now. So they play it, and then they go into it with, whatever you do, guys, tell the QA guys and tell the feedback guys, don't make it like MKX. And then they made Injustice 2, which was the polar opposite, pure defense. I would just pick Starfire, throw projectiles, and think about what I was making for dinner. Like, it was just easy life. Like, they were like 80% of the people I played, I just like was just chilling. You know what I mean? And then we go, okay, screw that. We want good defense, but you need to be able to move in. So then they made MK11, which had good movement, good defense, but like some of the most frustrating offense I've ever played in a game. And it's like, that's the thing, is now I'm even afraid to like go, okay, cool, the next game is gonna be different, but is it gonna be a balanced game now? No, it's
a very good point. It's a very good point. I love the fact that you say be careful what you wish for, and it kind of it kind of brings to question. Well, it kind of brings to light the question of like toxic fandom. You know, we've got so much control over what these developers do now. Are we fucking up the games, or are the developers?
But do we have that control? Because like if you think about it, like for MK11, like we asked for so many changes to the game, and like they just fell on deaf ears. Like I don't like we complained about breakaways, so they introduced armor breakers, and like are we really like affecting the outcome of the game? I don't think so.
No.
Not so much.
No, but like here's the thing though. Do you want to know what I have a problem with? That they half make these changes. They don't really
I agree.
give us what we ask for. We say, hey guys, give us good ideas. And then they turn around and go, we're not gonna do that. Here are slightly weaker champions. And, oh dude, just flawless block, LOL. And it's like, oh dude, like, let us punish breakaways. Oh, here are armor break moves that like half the cast can't really use like that. They still down two, like Cetrion, Johnny, like Sonya, half these characters still just down two people to punish breakaways. So like, and there's still so many situations where you still get punished for starting a combo, which will always tilt me about Mortal Kombat 11.
Yeah, I think that's the main issue.
There's
The
actually a
big
question
thing
in the chat.
that
What do we hate most about MK11? And I think it's exactly what you just said now, Bilal and Z. Getting punished for being on the offense. I think that's the one thing that irks everybody. But I think, you know, we come from different bases. I think, Z, you've obviously played MKX, you played Injustice 2. I'm not sure if you played titles before that, if you were part of Injustice 1 at that time as well, Mortal Kombat 9. But you obviously, at least Mortal Kombat X is where you kind of started your... our getting to know you was really through MKX. Bilal, you started, you were like a greenie in fighting games. MK11 was your first title.
Yeah, that was all I had to go off of. So, like, when people talk about Injustice 2 and the zoning and all that stuff, like, I cannot relate to that. Like, I just think about, I look at MK11, I just look at MK11 and I judge it for, like, what it is. I don't, like, relate it to other games.
Which I think is a great perspective in relation to this discussion as well.
Well, the question I was going to ask really is, what were your first thoughts, both of you, when you saw MK11 for the first time? Just very briefly, I mean, you've got no reference point other than MK11, Bilal. You've obviously got a bit of background, Z, in terms of your history of fighting games and NRS games in particular. But what were your initial thoughts of MK11 when you put that disc into your PlayStation or booted it up for the very first time and played this new game in 2019 called MK11? What was your initial thought?
Well, I remember, like, even before the game came out, like, I was following up with all the character trailers and everything, and they had all the combat casts describing everything. And I remember, like, hearing about the crushing blows and thinking how cool that was, that, like, you could fulfill a certain requirement in a match and then get a big payout. Like, I remember thinking that was the most amazing thing. And I remember an example of, like, Aaron Black's Forward 4 and thinking, oh, that's, like, such a cool mind game. Like, you do 2 in a row and you get big damage, right? And then obviously you go into the game and you realize what that means is just they're going to be mixing you with Forward 4 or Slide. So, I remember being really hype about the crushable mechanics specifically, and the game just looked pretty as well.
And then
little did I know. little did I know, But my first initial impressions, I was just blown away. I was so excited to play and, like,
And Z? Yeah. What about you?
Well, when I played the beta, it was fun. Like, it was actually fun because I was, like, using Scorpion mainly, and Scorpion had, like, actually fun offense. This was before I knew, like, who else was gonna be in the game, that there was gonna be a character called Johnny Cage that sometimes just randomly your moves whiff on and sometimes they don't, and that's a whole different thing. But, like, they felt room for expression, but I think that's what happens at the start of every game. You know, when a game is just starting out, everything, especially since at the time there were no set variations, so everything was open. And I was a big actual proponent of like keeping it open early on. I was like, this is cool, this is creative, this gives so much power to us. And when the game itself came out, it was new, like it was different. It wasn't MK11, it wasn't MKX, sorry, it wasn't Injustice 2. By the way, Bilal, if you want reference for what Injustice 2 is, pretty much everyone is Cetrion or Sub-Zero, and like maybe a little bit of Kotal Khan. It's literally those three archetypes. It's really like tilting when you play like
every time I hear people describe that game, I just can't imagine it. Like it just sounds like a nightmare. And I see some clips as well, and like people complaining about it. Yeah, so I'm surprised like people complain about MK11 so much. Like hearing about that stuff.
That's the funny thing. I mean, like I don't. It's interesting listening to you guys speak about it because you obviously come at it from a much more technical point of view. For me, when I first loaded up MK11, I loved everything about it because at that point I hadn't really explored the competitive nature of the game. I mean, obviously I'd played against friends offline, and I used to play a lot of MK9 against friends offline. It was kind of like our thing. It's what we did. But I hadn't really had the online experience. I hadn't really played guys like you guys, or the caliber of player who are analyzing every detail about it, every sort of bit of frame data and every sort of archetype. So for me, MK for me, I've been playing since MK1 literally, and for me it's always been about the lore and the characters and the coolness of it all. So for me MK11 was like it's and it still is. It's the most polished. It's the most beautiful. It's like, despite the fact that they've gone the whole traveling through time route, which basically gives them license to do anything story-wise, I think it's one of the most well-written. I think the character designs are absolutely perfect for every single character. I think like Kung Lao and Liu Kang, they spot on. That's what they like. Shao Kahn, dude. He is so awesome. Like they just nailed him. Every single character in this game is just perfect from a writing, from an artwork, from the backgrounds, the characters. So like from that point of view, the first time I booted the game, I was just like
blown away.
This is the coolest shit I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. Like, I think we can all agree here. This is the best made NRS game yet. I think that's one thing we can definitely all agree on. It just has the best production, period.
Yeah, and I still think there's people who maybe disagree with that because, I mean, there's the loyalists that just still to this day are just purely focused on MKX because they obviously like the same crazy offense that you spoke about, Z. They just love that. I think amongst all of us here, I think we want a bit of a balance and a polish about, yes, we want good offense, but we also want effective defense. And it's about finding the balance. And I think definitely from the point of view of all the games that NRS have made previously, this one has kind of struck that balance closest.
The best, yeah.
There's a question in the chat, guys, that I want to address, but I'll address it a bit later, and that's to do with a particular type of character, but we'll get there in a second. You were going to say, Z, before we move on to the next question?
And I
think we have to look at it. Yeah, we have to look at it from two different approaches because what Brian is saying right now is so true. In that it was such a polished game. The storyline is great. It's like NRS make the best fighting game stories. Like I think we can all agree that it looked pretty good. It was voice acted pretty well. Let's forget Dimitri Vega and Ronda Rousey exist for a second. Aside from that, it's a great game, and like it's just made so well. The menus are like dope. The music is actually a bit of an upgrade from the previous ones. It's the best made in terms of like what was put into it. You can argue which one is the most fun. A lot of people think it's MK9, but guys, I need to be very clear about something. Chat, if you are listening, MK9 was a fluke. It's like Street Fighter 2, they did things by accident and it just worked and everyone was like, okay, cool, I guess we have a cool game now. Nothing was intentional in that game that made it really good. Like, I think that people like have rose-tinted glasses about that game. It's great. It's a great game. Don't get me wrong.
It's a
But they
fun game.
fluked it. Yeah, it's a buggy mess. First of all, like if they just did MK9 remastered, in the world of social media, that game would not survive. Like the way MK11 has survived, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Maybe it would off nostalgia, but I don't know, man. Like when people discover that Jax has a 4 that's sometimes +5, sometimes +25, you go from I can mash to I'm dying if I do anything, and that's like so true for like so many people in the cast. Like it would be very different in a world where we can all share the tech, and in a world where if people realize Cyrax can do 100% combos and it's so easy to learn them, that character doesn't stand, because you walk into KL and every second match there's a Cyrax is just fishing for one hit to kill you. Like that's it's a different world we live in. Like it's a different climate right now. Exactly.
I have to add on that, like, when I first started playing, it was, like, mainly from a casual perspective. Like, I didn't care about, like, the technical stuff, like frame data and all that stuff. So seeing the Towers of Time, seeing the Crypt, and the story mode, like, all of that stuff just blew me away. Like, that was, like, my main priority. I spent so many hours on just the AI towers, you know, the ones where you, like, build up your AI and then put augments and stuff, and they fight other people's AI. I spent so much time on that just to get the gear and everything. So like that kind of stuff was so like huge for me. So I can see from like the casuals that they're probably aiming at, like that's what draws them in, you know, and that's how they make all so much money. And like obviously, like when you're playing it competitively, you don't care about all that stuff. So there's that perspective that we often don't see.
No, great guys. And I think just while we were obviously playing MK11 and you know, Combat League season started and things like that, I think the biggest thing that caught me was Ed Boon making an announcement that this was going to be a game that was going to be supported longer than any other previous NRS title that come before MK11. And I just want to find out from you, do you feel that based on what Ed Boon said all those months or years back, do you in any way feel misled by what Ed Boon said in that interview, considering that 2 years later, NRS is now finished supporting in MK11? Do you feel like you were misled in any way?
Yeah, I mean, to an extent, yeah.
Go for it, Bilal.
Let me just say like, quickly, to an extent, yeah, but you also need to think about, like, he didn't really see COVID happening, you know, like there's other circumstances that happened. So I do feel misled, but I also do understand like what could have led to the shorter lifespan. Okay. Yeah.
You know what it's like? It's like when you were a kid and you had a test coming up, and they said, "Hey man, if you pass, we're gonna take you to a nice dinner." And then you pass, and then like they take you to like Chicken Licken, and then you get like a 2-piece. Technically, they paid for a dinner because you passed, but really, chances are you were thinking about something else. You know what I mean? There's a very broad spectrum of longer support. Longer support is a month after like they usually do is technically still longer support, but is it what we really wanted? And the thing is, I have to know that they knew what we talked about when we said we want longer support. So to then come here and deliver on a technicality is, they know they should do better. I don't know if misled is the word, but definitely we were undersold. We're definitely undersold. I think that's the right word.
I think, man, you know, I'm going to be a little bit harsh on old Ed Boon here and say we were 100% misled. I agree with you, Bilal, that we obviously didn't see COVID and that sort of thing happening, but by virtue of the fact that their communication has been so poor, we have been misled, because it wasn't long ago that Ed Boon was tweeting all this nonsense about, you know, this game's going to be alive for a decade and we're going to put this and that, and, you know, it's not even nearly done, and all that sort of shit. Yeah. And then just all of a sudden, after months of silence, a very, very blunt piece of communication saying, guys, development's over. Cheers. Thanks for playing. Like that, to me, that cut me real deep. Like I love the game. I'm still going to keep playing the game, but after months of the community talking about, what's coming in Combat Pack 3? What characters do you think we're going to see? What's going to come in the next patch? How are they going to change this? Buff Shao, buff so-and-so, do this, do that. And then for NRS just to come out and simply say, hey guys, development's over, bye. Not even to say, hey guys, extenuating circumstances have led to the development cycle being a bit cocked up. We're really sorry. We did plan on adding more to the game, but at this stage, it's more trouble than it's worth. But hey, guess what? We're working on our next title, and you've got that to look forward to. Just the way it was communicated, by virtue of that fact alone, I feel misled, personally.
Yeah.
I must be honest with you. I was actually watching a video by Maximilian about a week or two ago, talking about the same thing, really. And he said, in many ways, the NRS community has been a bit spoiled, because if you look at support for the game, MKX was finished being supported not even a year later. Injustice 2, 9 months. MK11 had a flippin' story expansions pack in the heart of COVID. It had 3 combat packs or 2 combat packs and an expansion. There was multiple patches and hot fixes and what have you. And I think the biggest thing is when people voice a concern about the game, there's an automatic expectation that that's going to be addressed. And it's not necessarily in line with what the developers were thinking. It might be a case of, okay, this is valid, but let's introduce that into the next game. We don't know. We don't know what's happening with the merger. We don't know what's happening with COVID and how it's impacted. I mean, you mentioned to me, Blino, that if you are in the development space and you're working from home, it's very difficult to keep your focus. And never mind the fact that these guys get paid shitloads of money. But besides the point, I think NRS has in fact supported this game longer than any other title before this. And I think a lot of the misled or undersold, or however you want to term it, has also been because of our expectations for wanting a better game and the fact that they've spoiled us really for so long leading up to this point. Now, the only issue I do have, and I know you want to say something there, Z, the only issue I have is, like you said earlier, is this whole communication thing. I mean, I've, on 2 separate occasions, atted Tyler Lansdowne on Twitter, just asking him a simple question. And funny enough, when I did that to Stephanie Brownback, the response was almost immediate. Yet the communications dude at NRS does absolutely fuck all except tweet about flipping basketball games. So, you know, that's the part that really irks me about the fact that they could have just communicated a bit better. And as you said, Blino, there's this blunt piece of communication that suddenly comes out of nowhere and says, oh yeah, guys, by the way, we're done. Never mind all the bullshit that it was talking about, you know, making little teasers about Smoke and Reptile and what have you, only to just drop the bomb to say, dudes, we're done. I think that's the part that kind of like got me a little bit. But in terms of the promise of development support longer than anyone, I think they've kind of stuck to their promise, again, from our point of view. Z, I know you're dying to say something.
Guys, if we all understand that NRS is a toxic boyfriend, we'll be better for it, okay? He'll treat you however he wants to, okay? He'll deceive you, and then he'll come, oh, baby, I'm gonna be better. I'm gonna do better next time, you know what I mean? I'm gonna treat you right. I'm gonna treat you right, you know, like maybe he acts like he slips, you know, Rolls Royce keys out of his pocket. Ooh, I'm sorry, those are his friend's keys and whatever. And then he didn't say anything about that, and he didn't explicitly say, oh, I'm gonna buy you, I'm gonna give you the world, girl, you know what I mean? He's not saying what he'll do, but he's, you know, he's making promises and he's giving room for expectation. And then when the time comes, as in all toxic situations, he like invites you over to his crib. You know, it's a little link, and then he calls you an Uber after. It's like, okay, cool, I'll see you next time. And you're just there like, wow, I thought I meant something to you, man. I thought I meant something to you, Ed, and then Ed is just like, get in the car, I got work to do. You know what I mean? That's really what NRS is doing to us, honestly. It's the communication and the realist, like managing expectations. Do you know what I mean? It's
Exactly.
like a good example is No Man's Sky. They promised huge and they failed big, and then they came out after a while. If no one's been following No Man's Sky, you should actually like Google it now. By the way,
It's a compelling story. They should make a fucking movie.
Or a case study or something, yeah.
Because they failed so huge, and then they managed the expectation. They're like, okay, guys, turns out we're really small and we can't deliver on all of this, but let's start to build a game over time that's going to be something. And they actually started to, and the people who did stick around, salute to those guys, because they stuck around. Those guys and gals stuck around, and now it's built into a pretty solid game. Like, it's actually a pretty decent game to play. It's not a game that was promised. This might never be, who knows? But after that, they managed the expectation. It took failing drastically. I don't know if NRS needs to fail in the same way. I don't know. I don't feel like you should, though. You just manage your expectation.
Yeah, I don't even think it's possible for NRS to fail. Yeah. That's like the big issue. Like, they're not motivated to like do better, and they're not pushed. A game like No Man's Sky, indie developer, like they have that pressure on them. But like NRS, like they're making their money either way, so it's just an unfortunate thing that the fans have to deal with.
And I think the reality, Bilal, is that everybody who's complaining about NRS and the state of MK11, the moment that new title is released, guess what? NRS is getting those people's money anyway. That's just the nature of the beast. So, I mean, it's just one of those things. I mean, we can discuss this for days, guys, because I think everybody in chat, and guys, just a reminder, if there's anything that you want to ask any of these gentlemen here tonight, please just at myself, at CharlieWolfGaming, or at, is it still Brian Luke, or is it Blino now? I see your name has changed.
No, it's still Brian Luke on YouTube.
On YouTube. So just at us, we'll see it in the chat. We'll ask the questions. We won't necessarily address everything, but guys, do stick around because we also got a fantastic little teaser coming a bit later tonight. So keep your eyes peeled on that. I think just on on one of the questions that the guys were talking about in chat, there's this whole issue about guest characters, and I mean we've obviously seen those introduced all the way back in MK9 already with Freddy Krueger. We saw MKX with Leatherface and Alien and Predator and Tanya and all these, well, not Tanya, but there's been guest characters and MK11 as well. I mean, I must be honest with you, from my point of view, and Bliner knows this very well, I fucking hate Robocop. I think he's the most stupid flippin' character ever introduced in NRS's history, and Rambo's a very close second. Because I'm thinking to myself,
he loves them both. He mains them both.
Who's asking for these people? It's like who asked for Dimitri Vegas? It's like,
dude, what was that about?
Robocop and Rambo are cool though. I actually think those are cool characters. Like the way they design them and everything. It's just the actual gameplay that's I don't like.
But there you go. It's that whole thing. It's like it's what's so wonderful about being human. All of our opinions are so different. Like I don't like a majority of the guest characters, but I love Spawn and I love Joker. So but the rest you can throw away. I don't mind Terminator actually, but
actually I was a Dimitri Vegas main for a week and got the most hate mail in MK.
There you go.
That's so much fun. That voice is
brilliant.
Like the meme potential on that voice is unmatched. I like Robocop because he's a meme too. Foxy Grandpa has made watching that character the funniest experience possible. For sure. Honestly, I love guest characters. Here's why. They fit somebody. Now, I didn't understand Robocop and Rambo because of the generation of people playing it right now. I barely cared about those characters, and I would say I'm in the middle generation of the people playing the game now. So I'd imagine what the younger generation felt. A lot of it though is driven by promo deals. They sign promo deals. There's a RoboCop game coming out soon, and it's because Joker was gonna come out that they put Joker in this one, and I think there's a Rambo thing coming up. So if you see a guest character, they've got a movie or a game coming out. So that's why typically, and then Yeah, and they come in and they reference cool stuff that like have been in their movies and stuff, and people get really excited for it, and I don't mind that. Like the more people that are excited for this game, the better. Like the more like offhand random guy who liked comic books that's like watching a Joker trailer like that you know what I mean. I've seen those reaction videos online, and I thought they're pretty cool. So like I don't mind them in the game. So yeah, the characters are cool as long as they're implemented well. Rambo sucks. Well, I don't know if he sucks, but he's just not fun to watch. Not fun really to play, from my experience.
Not fun.
RoboCop is so.
It's very
Yeah.
niche. Like you can find people that make him look really fun. Like it just depends. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a very niche character. Like, and those characters. Yeah, because I don't know. I think I have a criticism for how they were made in this game, in my opinion, but I don't like the general concept. I don't hate the general concept. Sorry.
You know, as I said earlier, as an MK lore nerd, I feel like those guest characters are taking up slots that some very, very awesome Mortal Kombat characters could have.
Havoc, for example. Take
We
Rambo
haven't seen
out,
Havoc for ages.
Take Rambo out, put Havoc in. Take RoboCop out, put Movado in, or Nataro, or Lee May, or anyone. That's my personal feeling. But I mean, I'm from a different generation, for example, to Bilal. You love these guest characters, and a question to kind of just follow up.
I wouldn't say love.
Well,
I just
you
I like
enjoy
the
them.
design
You enjoy
of
them.
that. Yeah,
Love is such a
yeah, for
strong
sure.
word.
Irrespective of what
But
the
I
title
can understand
is,
where you're coming from, though.
I love telling people, freeze, dirtbag. You are against law. Gator Reborn asked where I'm from. I'm from Zimbabwe, by the way. And Shivan asked if I've played MK Deception as well. I saw like a few questions. I have played MK Deception. I've played every MK. I was a huge fan, and then I became a competitive player in MKX. I was like, I really love this. Then I saw Fatal 8 tournament. Everyone who played MKX remembers the Fatal 8 tournament. I was like, holy shit. I want to learn how to do that too with the characters I love to play. And then, yeah, it came from there, basically.
That was
Bilal, you
crazy.
wanted to say something?
No, I'm just looking
Yeah, I
at
just
the-
wanted to say, like, I'm actually kind of, in terms of like characters we play, I'm actually kind of similar to Z in that I like to annoy people. Like with my, that's like when I'm having the most fun. If I'm playing a character and I'm annoying someone and I know like I'm getting on their nerves, I'm having the most fun in the game. So I get where he's coming from with RoboCop being fun.
You
and
would never say so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you kind of seem very calm. I must be honest with you. When I look at people who enjoy annoying people, I kind of think of Z. Z kind of looks like the guy that wants to get under his opponent's skin first and then just finish him off and say, you know what, I love to mop. You kind of seem like a gentleman, Bilal. So, you know,
No,
once
if
it-
I can
Well,
kill
now
someone's
his
nerves
true
and
colours
still
have been
win,
revealed.
I'm doing that.
No, well, that's it.
it's nice to see the difference in personality, though, because you've got like this MK persona that comes out whenever you pick up the control and control your character. Yet, as we're sitting right now, you look like the biggest gentleman out of the four of us. So,
I mean, that's what video games are for. You're supposed to like experience what you don't in like real life. So yeah.
fair enough. Fair
Right.
enough.
Yeah,
fair
why
enough.
not?
Yeah.
Somebody's asking, why do I hate Rambo so much? Philip, it's not because of you. It's not because of you. I hated him before then. You just kind of rubbed it in a bit.
Oh, Philip asked that.
Timeless.
Timeless Dawn himself.
What a monster.
Oh yeah, he's
Well, speaking of monsters, one guest character that you want to see in a future NRS title, Bilal. Just one. You can't think of anybody else. The only condition is he couldn't have appeared in any other NRS title before this. Who would it be?
Oh, you put me on the spot. I'd have to think about it. Can you go to Zia then come back to me? I'll have to think about it.
Z?
I've got one.
I've got one too.
See, the thing is, I'm really tempted to say a meme character. My favorite character in Injustice 2 was Mikey, because he's just a meme. And then when I wanted to play Terminator before I realized it's just a 50-50 crackhead, because of the memes, I just wanted to tell people I'll be back and then like stomp them in the nuts. That sounded fun. Who would I like to see in a future game? That's really tough, man. Let me see. Horror movie character, maybe. I don't know, man. They've done so many really
Like,
cool
you
ones,
got
and the
mine.
thing is, you know what's really cool about NRS? They have like really left field ones, but they still come out really sick. Like they still like make them work really well within the universe, and then you're like, oh snap! Like I actually think that would be a cool addition. It'll probably like be some Marvel character maybe. No, Krillin for DLC, guys. It's
Krillin.
official.
Krillin.
Let's go.
Cool.
He's an Earthling.
He's got a tiny hitbox.
He's so broken. Tri-beam, boom. You can't see anything. Unseeable mix-ups. Like who hates that? Throws rocks, rock okie. Like you can't
Panda
hate
Bear.
it.
Panda Bear's got a good one, dude. Punisher. That would be pretty cool.
Oh
It's
yeah.
mine now. I just thought about it. It would be Deadpool for sure.
I want
100%.
guts. I want
Yeah,
guts from
Deadpool.
Berserk.
And he would fit really well. Oh, that's a good
Yeah.
one too. That's a really
Guts
good
from
one.
Berserk would just own.
Well, I'm looking at a
Yep.
couple of guys. Panda Bear says Punisher. Keita Reborn
Yeah.
says he wants Black Panther. I saw Blade and Riddick being mentioned by
Riddick would be cool.
Dimak. I've
Yeah.
seen Chimba. Mr. Killjoy himself saying Mike Myers.
Man.
Not
I
bad as
do
well,
say
yeah.
Alloy.
Mike Myers, the comedian, or the or the guy from Halloween.
So why not?
Chimba said another
You
one.
Austin Power.
We get Cat in the Hat running
baby.
around.
John Wick might be a good one as well.
that-
Me
yeah, that's a
personally,
good one.
I want Skeletor.
Yes.
I want
Oh, man.
Skeletor from.
How did I miss that one? We've
Especially-
had this discussion before.
Especially if it's Injustice. I don't think it will fit into the Mortal Kombat universe, just because I think the guys who kind of grew up with Masters of the Universe were, I think, people in our generation, Brian, if I were to put it safely. But I think it would fit perfectly into Injustice. And then, I mean, my one was also John Wick. Somebody said Neo from The Matrix as well. So there's definitely I think there's a lot of people here that are very for guest characters. And I think, if they are going to introduce them in the future title, which I'm sure it is going to be the case, I would maybe just like to see the ratio of lore characters to guest characters just move more in favor of the lore characters. I think there's 3 guest characters and 3 universe characters. I think it's a little bit too much. I think maybe just swing the ratio a bit more in favor of the lore characters as opposed to guest characters. Again, my personal opinion.
Yeah, I mean, where else are you gonna see Terminator versus RoboCop or like Spawn versus Joker?
Alien versus Predator.
Exactly, like
we've seen that
just
On the movie.
an amazing
yeah.
matchup.
That was so cool. Like having that in an actual game was so sick. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it was cool.
So here's the next question, guys. I mean, 5 games in with NRS, we obviously know that based on that very vague communication that came out, that a new title is in the works. What is your hope for that new title, Bilal? What are you hoping that new title is going to actually be?
Okay, for sure, I'm 100% hoping for a Marvel versus DC game.
Marvel
That would
versus
be
DC.
just the... Yeah, and there's been rumors kind of supporting it, so yeah, 100% hoping for that. Because, like, I'm not really attached to, like, the Mortal Kombat series, so, like, I don't mind not getting another MK game, or even Injustice, but, like, Marvel versus DC, I'd be completely sold on that.
See?
And it's never been done before, so...
It's never been done before, and I've got my thoughts about that. But before we get there, Z, your hopes for the next NRS title?
Honestly, like I just want to keep an open mind because I realized like I remember waiting for MK11's announcement, and I was telling Fabio this when he was getting excited about the next trailer that was going to drop like at the end of the year. I was like, dude, just keep an open mind, and if they haven't announced anything, go play other games. They'll know where to find you, and that's kind of the way, like the stress-free vibe I have. I'm trying to stay as like expectationless as possible because that will drive you mad, because you'll be like, that's how you end up with those not my Mortal Kombat kind of comments. This is not my Injustice, when they make everything offensive and whatever. So I try to keep like as few expectations as possible. They'll drop the trailer when they drop it. Last time I was waiting for the MK11 trailer. I almost went insane until they released it in January because I waited E3, then Gamescom, then Comic-Con, and then I thought it was never coming, and then it came. And then with now this new one, the trailer will drop when it drops, and it'll be whatever. Like, I'll probably adjust and just try to have fun with it, especially if the mechanics are similar. I don't know. It's become like I'm committed generous.
I think that's such an awesome point of view. I love what you just said there. Like, just keep doing what you're doing. Play MK11 or move on to other games and just have fun with those until such. I love that they know where to find you, and that's so true. And I think that there's so much at the moment for the community to be excited about. I mean, there are those who are going to keep playing MK11. There are a lot of people who are going to keep playing MK11. I'm going to keep playing MK11. I know that Carla is going to keep playing MK11. But there's so much more going on right now. I mean, the time has never been better to go and jump into something else like a Guilty Gear or even a Street Fighter, which is still being supported, or a Tekken or a whatever. So
Power Rangers.
Power Rangers.
That game is pretty cool. Like, what you want to, you know?
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, that's exactly it. But I mean, personally, I'm a simple guy. I'm just hoping for IJ3. I think that would be very, very cool. Make it a trilogy. I love the way they handle the story mode in that game. So, yeah, man, give me IJ3. But in the meantime, I'm gonna have fun with whatever it is that I'm playing. I love fighting games, so I'm gonna play something.
Yeah.
You're so right. And the main thing is, if you're not having fun, get away from the environment. You're making your life worse, and B, you're making everyone's time around that game worse because you're going into chat and you're like, oh, dead game, oh, lol, I'm so cool, and like you're not really contributing to anything. You're not like we want to have fun with the game when we want to have fun with it. If you don't want to have fun with it, go play something else and have fun there. It's probably better for you and everybody involved. It's cool. If you don't agree with this game, like, I know what this game is. When I want to do that, I switch my console on and I play MK11. When I know that I want to pressure someone on wake up and I want to know that I'm not going to get mashed on after my offense, I'm not going to play this game. I'm going to play something else. It's simple. If I want anti-airs, if I'm like, this guy's jumping at me in the corner and I can't get out, this is BS, I play another game, guys. It's not hard.
This guy's playing Cabal.
It's really not
Full
hard.
stop.
You know, it's that simple.
Really
yeah.
So Z, you kind of keeping an open mind. Expectation is Bilal very much Marvel versus DC, which hasn't been done yet on any platform. Never mind games. You very much IJ3, Blino. I think I'm with you on that one. I want to see this trilogy kind of just come to a conclusion. If I look at the Injustice comics, there were five chapters, I think, or 5 parts. There's a lot of the story that's in the game that hasn't been told yet, which I think they've got room to kind of tell in the 3rd installment. And I just think there's so much room for characters. Listen, Bilal, don't get me wrong. If Marvel versus DC comes out, I'm playing it anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
Because there's obviously this hype that's around it. There's even talk about it being a Marvel-only fighting game. Probably because of how badly the latest Marvel vs. Capcom installment went down. Infinite was it was a great game, but it just wasn't very well supported. It kind of died before it even started living. So maybe. I doubt it's going to happen, anything Marvel, but I could be wrong. I would love to see Injustice 3, and bring Beast Boy in as well. Why not?
Yeah, honestly, I wouldn't mind anything like that's like not MK, like, because I'm more familiar with like Injustice and Marvel and DC. So like either way, I feel like I'm just gonna be hyped for the next installment whenever
There's even talk about a horror movie fighting game. You know, where all the guest characters that we've seen over the last couple of years just fight it out against each other.
Yeah, why not?
Maybe instead of MK12, and maybe they make like a Shaolin Monks game instead, kind of thing in between. Like, who knows?
Yeah, that's kind of, to be honest, that's kind of my fear. Like, I want another fighting game because I've enjoyed MK11 so much, and I really, really have. And I want another NRS fighting game, dude. I'll be bleak. I loved Shaolin Monks. I played it for hours and hours and hours, but I'll be bleak if they come out with some like RPG or some action adventure. Game. Yeah, I'm like, I need a fighting game. Yeah. You guys make fighting games, I want a fighting game. Any fighting game.
Guys, I see so many new names in the chat. Guys, if you haven't done so just yet, please don't forget, leave a subscribe if you think you're enjoying what you're seeing and you want something every week. On CharlieWolfGaming, we'll bring you something every single week. Please hit that subscribe button. If you're already subscribed, don't forget, leave a like or a dislike and tell us what it is that you would like us to improve on the channel. Somebody's saying they want Constantine in the next fighting game. Whatever fighting game comes out, they want Constantine in there. I think he will be a cool addition.
That would be cool.
Z
that would be cool.
Salt Series, let's go. Timeless versus Z the Janitor. Next week, Thursday. Let's make it happen.
Do this time?
Let's make it happen.
I would be insane.
I think one of the things that obviously we were talking about just before we got started, Bilal, is the momentum that the community has, finds himself in really with what has been happening on CharlieWolfGaming, what has been happening with FGC Africa. We've seen things like CGL happening in the last 3 or 4 months. We've seen over the last couple of weeks the Colosseum and all the personalities that comes with it suddenly being mentioned in the same conversations as FGC Africa and the African community. What do you think the future holds in terms of Africa being seen as a destination for a future pro competition? How far do you think we are away from of getting that? And I'm not talking about an online setting. I'm talking about people from around the world, names like Ninja Killer and Sonic Fox flying down to Africa to compete in the African leg of the next NRS Cup or whatever it's called. How far do you think we are from that?
Honestly, I don't think we're that far from that, considering like how big we have been online competitions for MK11, like with CGL, like you mentioned, and the Colosseum and all these tournaments. Like, I think the past 2 years, this has been the most online tournaments we've had. Like, I can't find anything dating back to like MKX and Injustice 2, like on this scale. Like, and we have weekly streams as well. Like, we've really, like, the admin teams have really pushed forward like our community, like, to getting noticed. Like, just a couple months ago, we started including like North and West Africa in the Combat Africa, which is also huge. Like, as far as we were concerned, like we just knew about South and East Africa, and then CGL happened, and then there's a whole different scene in Africa that also is really good, So yeah, we're really pushing forward, and I think by the time the next game comes out, if there is a pro competition, I think we really have a high chance of being included. Sure.
Yeah, the dream is like a southeast versus northwest type of regional thing. That what I mean, like an offline. That would be so dope.
Oh man, I want to get those guys. I want to get those guys in an offline here and just see how the guys from the south and east fare against them, because there are strong players in the north and there are strong players in the south. They need to collide.
Man like Hamza. Shout out Hamza.
Hamza, Ganani, Daedalus. Jeez, like the Nigerians, man, at the Colosseum. Yo, they were mopping.
Community is way bigger than we thought it was, for sure.
We need to bring it. And that's what makes what CharlieWolf was doing so important. Like, shout out CharlieWolf and shout out everyone else who's still supporting the game, AK Slay, Ara, like everybody's still organizing tournaments for this and keeping the game alive. If you like the game, that's why I'm saying, guys, if you don't like it, go play Guilty Gear or Tekken, like, go away. If you like the game, those of us that still like and enjoy this game, like, keep playing it and keep the hype alive. Marvel 3s was popular for 8 more years, not because of support, but because of the people that drove that community forward, that liked the game. Smash 4 was it Smash 4 or Smash 3? I don't know. Whatever. Pikachu doing jumpy things, I don't care. Yeah, one of those games was like popular for 10 years. People still bring CRT big butt TVs to tournament venues to play because that's the game they enjoyed. Keep playing it, keep doing tournaments for it. There'll be guys, so many guys like Evolved Overkill, you know, Timeless Dawn, like Atrocity, Bilal over here. Like there's so many guys who play this game still and are really doing it at a super high level, and it's bringing hype and they're growing and they're becoming better fighting game players. By the next game, the guys who quit and were like, I'm just gonna walk into Injustice 3, you're probably not. Who was this Dragon and Rewind and Samich and all those guys who are now popping at the end of Injustice 2, everyone was like, come MK11, their time is dead, and they won majors, and they were still the best players in the scene. Yep. So those guys that are grinding now, people think that, you know, Injustice 3 is going to come around and everything's going to be the same as it was in Injustice 2. I can guarantee you there'll be new sharks, there'll be new hype around the game, and if we have a following, imagine, like, that's why I want those guys who don't like the game, like, do other things, because when you come back and the scene has been around positivity and hype and the community is bigger, you're going to come to bigger prize pots, you're going to come to more recognition, you're going to stream and more people are going to be watching your streams and everything. It benefits you to not be a dipshit. Don't be a dipshit. Like, come on.
Well,
you know.
I think what Z is saying, I think we kind of alluded to it as well in a couple of episodes ago, Blino. Beware the shadows. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Never mind all the negativity that's going around the game. If, like Z saying, I think quite correctly, if you don't like the game, dude, there is so many other games to play. I found myself playing Batman Arkham Knight because I enjoy it. And I mean, it's an old game. It's like 2014, 2015, but I still enjoy it. So I'll play it. If I don't feel like playing MK11, that's what I do. And I think the message is going out and quite strongly is, if you don't enjoy MK11 because of unfinished game or faulty mechanics or whatever, go play something else. And you know what? I think where the channel is going, Blino, whatever game you're moving towards playing, Guilty Gear or Tekken, we're probably going to have something on that game as well. So I think at the end of the day, we one community called the FGC.
Exactly.
So whether you're an MK11 fan, whether you're a Tekken fan, a Street Fighter 5 fan with the new V-shift and the 2 V-triggers and whatever, come along and play the game that you love, because there's other people playing it as well. And I mean, we've got the MKX stream coming up. We've got an Injustice 2 stream that we're planning to do. Things kind of fell through, but we'll pick it up again. But I think it's awesome where we're at now. I think personally for me, I would love to see a pro competition happening on the African continent, whether it's going to be a north or a south, or somewhere in between where we can kind of meet together halfway and say, okay, let's meet up in Central Africa and bring the entire continent together. I don't know, but something has to happen. We've obviously not got the infrastructure. We've spoken about that on countless occasions, Blino. But there's so much that's happening in our scene that is, in my mind, is good. Yeah. People are coming together. The community is growing. We've got people picking up MK11 for the first time now.
Yeah.
They're just learning the game and excited about learning new things about the game. So if that's keeping you going.
I jumped into casuals the other day and I came across like 5 low pings with people that were under level 10 in MK11. I mean, that's like you are brand new to the game.
Yeah. And guess what?
And they weren't hideys. They were bad.
But that's fine. You know? We all started there, didn't we?
Yeah, I mean, of course.
I remember coming across Z the janitor in beta days, because I think over that beta weekend, I think I played like 500 matches, and I thought to myself, okay, at least now I have to control this game, and then I was introduced to, I think it was a move called, I don't play Scorpion that much, but there's a move that you had. there we go. Yeah, that thing, the Misery Blade. And I thought, fuck this game. I'm not playing this game anymore.
Yeah, dude.
That move was really good before they like patched it into like the third variations. It was super good.
Yeah, it was probably OP. It was probably OP.
And it was fun as well. So, yeah.
Well, that's it. I mean, I like how these other fighting games just embrace the brokenness, dude. Like, a lot of guys are playing Guilty Gear. The frame data on Guilty Gear, dude, I cannot keep up, man. There's like 4 frame moves. How do you deal with that shit?
Those are 2
frame
frames.
How
Those
do
are
you
2
do
frames.
Those are 2 frame.
Dude, 2 frames, dude. How do you deal?
So you
And
can
we-
literally just wait.
And we here moaning about MK11, like, you know?
Yeah.
Come on.
Like wake up throws.
That's also the good thing. That's also the good thing about like if you're not liking the game, trying other games, because once you try other games, you'll realize what you're taking for granted in MK11, and once you come
100%.
back, you're gonna come back refreshed and actually liking the game. Like it only benefits you. It's just taking a break if you're not enjoying it.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, look, I took a break during MK11's life cycle. It wasn't on purpose. It wasn't because I wasn't enjoying the game. It was simply because it was kind of the beginning of lockdown, and my brother and I hadn't spent a lot of time together, and we're really, really close. And I battled to find games to play with him online. We don't like the same games generally. But we both found ourselves really enjoying Red Dead Redemption 2 online. So I would be playing that with him all the time. And I never lost my love for MK11. But just as you said, Bilal, I came back to it, and it was like playing a new game all over again. Not just from the fact that it had gone through a couple of patches and there had been some pretty major changes, but also from the point that it was only after that I really discovered the community, that I got involved, and I've never looked back. You know, so yeah, I mean it is. I think you make a really, really good point. If you are getting to the point where you're feeling kind of jaded and not so cool, just go away, gain some perspective, and come back.
Yeah, and similar to you, like my first break was also like it wasn't intentional. Like I didn't say I'm gonna take a break from it. Like I actually injured my hand, so I was physically forced to take a break. And once I came back after like 2 weeks of not playing, like I remember feeling so refreshed and actually like enjoying it. It was a very weird feeling to like turn it on and actually enjoy it. So yeah, it's like the secret to like staying happy while playing. You know, take frequent breaks if you need to.
For sure.
Yeah.
Guys, that kind of brings us to the end of our line of questioning, really. But I think the bottom line is that MK11 is still going to be played. NRS is doing what NRS is doing, and I think the majority of people who play MK11 is probably going to move over to the next title, whatever that may be. And we're going to probably have a couple of issues as well with the title, but I think the positives that came out of everything that is MK11 was, as much as many people will feel that the support for what the community had asked for wasn't necessarily there to the extent that it could have been there, the game was supported. It was supported well. It was changed when it needed to be changed. There were things introduced. There were expansion packs. And I think the only thing that I can hope for is that the next title, whatever that support is going to be even better than what it was during MK11's lifespan. Because I think until MK11, the support has kind of just gone up and up and up as the titles have been rolled out. So I think the support is definitely on an upward trajectory, and it's basically just hoping now that whatever the next title is going to get an even higher level of support. Maybe not longer, but definitely more frequent in terms of what they're finding, what the community's finding, flaws in the game, inconsistent frame data, etc., etc., etc. So I'm excited for what's to come. Whenever that's going to be, I do expect it to kind of be announced at the Game Awards, because I think the last 2 titles have been announced at the Game Awards, I think, which is in December. So I'm anticipating the next title probably to be around May of 2022. That's just my guesstimate. Your thoughts, Bilal?
Yeah.
When are you hoping for?
Yeah. I don't see us having like 2 years with no announcements or anything. Like, yeah, I definitely feel like, well, I hope that we get one soon, and until then, like, we'll still be playing MK11 and still like enjoying it. You know, there's no reason to like stop playing the game just because they announced they're not supporting the game anymore. You know, people still play MKX, MK9, Injustice 2. Like, you don't have to like drop the game completely because of that. So yeah.
Z, any final thoughts from your side?
Oh yeah, like Bilal just said, there was an MKX tournament recently, and like guys were doing like crazy new stuff you'd never seen. Just like play what you like. I'm playing a Guilty Gear tournament this weekend. I'm learning the game. It's fun as heck. Hopefully, I don't drown in pools, guys. Give me your energy and just play what you want, man. Like it's like stress free. It's a game. It's meant to enhance your mental health, not take away from it. You know what I mean? Like that's what games all about. Like why we got so good at games. Like I didn't get good at a game because I wanted it to be my job. Like I was like, this is my like. It's because I love doing this so much that I was like, let me be really good at it, and that's where we all are. A lot of us, at least. So if you're not enjoying it, go get good at something else. Like you'd be very surprised. Like Bilal is saying, what you learn from other games. Like I learned so much playing like Street Fighter back in the day, taking a break and playing Street Fighter, or like taking a break now and playing Guilty Gear. I'm learning new ways, to think about fighting games, and you'll probably do that and gain new knowledge that you can transfer over to Injustice 3 when it comes out. And if you want to play Injustice 2, play it. It's actually like fun amidst all the brokenness. There's a fun game in there. Like I promise you. Like Charlie knows with his Captain Cold from back in the day.
Seems like a long time ago.
Yeah, but it was fun times.
Nah,
And it's not like we didn't have fun playing the game. It was just it's an interesting game, man. Just have fun playing what you wanna play, man.
Lino, any final thoughts from your side before we make the big announcement?
Dude, from my side, first and foremost, I think that we need to write the Book of Z. The man spits a lot of truth. But I share the sentiments of our guests, and I suspect you as well, CWolf. I'm not going to stop playing the game. I will fully admit that I was butthurt by the way that NRS decided to kind of drop their news, especially sort of considering all the communication that came before. But it's not going to make me stop loving MK11. As you know, to my mind, it's still NRS's most polished, most complete fighting game that they've made so far, and I think it stands to reason that whatever comes next is going to be improved upon what came before. So whatever does come next, it's going to be bigger, it's going to be better. And I can't wait to play that either. But in the meantime, dude, I'm still going to be dishing out as many moppings as I can, which isn't many, but I'm still going to try. And I'm not stopping. But I'm also keen to jump into some new stuff. I'm really, really keen to learn Guilty Gear as well. So, and I think when I spoke to Sheldon on his podcast not so long ago, he sort of made the interesting point. He's like, us guys who are sort of trying to create the content and trying to expose the community and that sort of thing, we're going to go where the community leads, and I'm very, very optimistic and interested to see where that is. So yeah, man, sky's the limit.
We'll be tuning in on the weekend to see you mop a couple of guys in Guilty Gear Z. I'm not sure if you're going to be in that tournament as well, Bilal.
Yeah, I will be on the other side of Z's mops.
And will it be streamed, Z?
I'm hoping so. I'll throw the links in, but I know it's hosted by AI and always do streams, so there should be one for sure.
All right.
So yeah, stay tuned for that. Yeah.
We'll definitely do that, and we'll do what we can from our side to just share the links and spread the word to the community at large and get the guys involved as well. But guys, just from our side, firstly, thank you for accepting and just sharing your insights with not only us but with the audience as well. I think it's always nice to get different perspectives. Obviously, we chat to each other all the time, myself and Blino, but getting different perspectives, getting different viewpoints from guys like yourselves, just kind of adds a extra bit of meaning to this thing that we call MK11. So it's great to hear from both of you. I ought to Mop Z, the janitor, as well as Mr. Bob Grantiel. Thank you so much for tuning in. Blino, as always, keep doing what you're doing for the community. Keep dishing out the fantastic pieces of artwork. Z,
I thought you were going to say moppings.
Well, you can dish up a couple of moppings when the stream is done. I'll be here waiting for those.
Sweet.
But guys, just before we go, the four of us are going to go on mute for a second, and we're going to leave you just with a little something to whet the appetite for what's to come on CharlieWolfGaming. So guys, from myself, Charlie Wolf, from Blino, from Z the janitor, and from Mr. Bob Grantiel himself, Thank you for tuning in. See you guys all next time.